Today's video, we'll be taking a look at Apothic gem farming. A pretty simple yet effective way to store all the gems you could possibly think of, a lot of emeralds, and that juicy experience when it comes to Apothic enchanting. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the basics and what we are going to need. So, we're going to be building a 7x7 on the base, and it'll be 14 blocks tall. In total, we're going to need 461 blocks of a block your choice. We're going to be using stone bricks for this video. 6 glass panes. It could be clear glass, it could be pane glass. It really just doesn't matter. Just some type of glass. Honestly, you could have it closed off too with stone bricks. I just like the glass so I can see into what I'm doing. For the base, we're going to need 49 entity conveyors. For crushing the mobs, we're using a mob master, 9 of those, and then each mob master can stack 10 of the looting upgrade and the sharpness upgrade. So we'll need 90 looting upgrades and 90 upgrades for sharpness. Now to collect everything, we're going to be using an absorption hopper, and this will divvy the items into the backpack, which we're going to be using an upgradable netherite backpack, which will have a void upgrade, tank upgrade, and a stack upgrade tier 4. Now mind you, you can add multiple of these stack upgrades and increase the stack capacity in the backpack like so. We're also going to be using an experience holder. This is going to allow for mass storage of XP. The tank can hold XP, but not as much, so we're going to have this to just keep stacking up. Now for the spawner, we're going to be using an Apothic spawner, and this one's going to be spawning Vindicators. Now in order to grab this spawner, you will need to go to the other and go past at least 1,000 plus or minus in the X or Y direction and find a dungeon. And in that dungeon, you will need to use a Silk Touch pickaxe to mine this spawner. Of course, we're going to have it redstone activated, so we can use a lever to control it on or off, toggle it, and below you'll find a bunch of modifiers for said spawner. I won't go into these just yet. I'll go into them later in the video when we start the build. But this is essentially what you need to build the spawner, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start the build. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with the base first. Now, this is a 7x7, so I'm just going to mark it here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. This is going to be our foundation, and this is what's going to house the conveyors. Now, before we place the conveyors, let's find the front of where our spawner is going to be. So let's just say it's going to be right here, and we're going to mine out 9 blocks, so a 3x3. As far as the conveyor goes, if you're looking at the spawner right in front of you, the left and the right are going to have these entity conveyors, and we're going to have them facing towards us like that. Alright, and we're going to do this for both sides. Do one more layer facing us, and the last layer is going to point towards the front like so. This little 3x3 will be for the mob masters. However, I did make a mistake. I forgot to mention we're going to need a way to power these mob masters, and so we're going to be using redstone blocks. You'll need 9 of those, 1 for each. So I'll go ahead and shift. We will mine this out, place our redstone blocks, and now we will place the mob masters. Cool. Just be careful. They will hurt, especially when we get the upgrades in. So, we'll come back to these in just a sec. Let's go ahead and finish setting up the actual spawner itself. So now the walls, these are going to encompass the entire spawner. And we won't need the corners. And these will now stack 14 tall. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And do this all the way around. For this front part here, I'm only going to have a 3x3, so 3 blocks tall, 3 blocks wide. But behind it, so we'll say right here, behind it will be enclosed. Alright, so this is the basic shape of our spawner. And as you can see, Nothing too fancy, just an area for the mobs to spawn and them to get planted on the conveyor and ejected into the masters here. So now let's go ahead and add the fancy bits. But before we turn this on, we need to build the roof. So for this, we're going to go up a block and place a block over such. And this will cover the entire spawner. Sweet. Just for light, I'm going to have some light coming in here. So now we need to find the center and go down 2 blocks right here. Yep, that is the center. Oop. Okay, the reason is because we want our spawner to kind of be suspended. Like so. That way, mobs can spawn up top and all around it and fall down on the conveyor. And in fact, I'm actually going to leave this open for now, just so we can come in and access and add this stuff. While we're up here, we can go ahead and add the comparator. Alright, so the next thing that we can go ahead and do before we jump back into the spawner is finish the front here and add some kind of access port to get inside. So let's go ahead and add the upgrades to our mob masters. Go over here and grab the looting and sharpness. You can only stack 10 of each, so it is really straightforward. You can shift left click until they fill up and do this for all 9 masters. Plain and simple. Now we can go and add the glass. I don't want to take away from that, so we're going to extend this a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Add the glass. And now we can grab our backpack, absorption hopper, and experience. Shift right click, you can place the backpack. Bada boom, bada bing. Alright, for the hopper, we're going to want to set it up for fluid and items. Now this is relative to your position on your map, so this will vary depending on how you have your spawner set up, whether it be facing north, south, east, west. So, in my case, west would be a fluid. So we're going to set that to fluid. East would be item. That way when the mobs fall down and they get absorbed, the drops get absorbed, this can now decide where it goes. Items will go to the backpack and fluid or experience will go towards the experience holder. Now you'll notice I have a yellow outline. This is the area that this is active in. So I have this showing, and the reason why I have this showing is you're going to have to adjust this into the area of these mob masters. So mine, north to south, offset of 4. There we go. It's closer in. So that way within this area, it'll suck in items and experience. For the backpack, let's go ahead and add our upgrades. We're going to add 2 stack upgrades, tank upgrade, and the advanced void upgrade. And this void upgrade is going to allow us to filter out unwanted item drops, like axes or tools, armor that have very, very low durability, banners, anything that you don't want to store in here, you can input here and it will void out. That way you're not left with a backpack getting filled up of items that serve no use to you. Sweet. So if you've made it this far and I haven't bored you yet, congratulations, I will award you a fresh baked cookie. So let's go ahead and take a look at the modifications to our spawner. If you go over to your quest tab and you navigate to Apothic spawners here, this will tell you what each one will do. And so what we have is a conduit, which is going to ignore all conditions. This is kind of just the baseline for it. We have a nether star, which will ignore players. We have a redstone comparator, which will allow redstone signal, and the soul lantern, which will ignore light. Now, I don't know if this automatically voids these two, if this is just these two plus extra, or if you still need these two. I have these here just in case, so that's why we're using all 3 of these. We have the clock and the sugar. This sets the minimum and maximum spawn delay, which these will allow much more frequent spawn. The gas tier will allow much higher entity count at spawn. The echo shard is going to multiply the loot they drop, so that comboed with the looting upgrades we have on our mob masters is going to do wonders. The pointed dripstone, this decreases the health when they spawn, which allows them to get grinded up easier. Even though we have the sharpness upgrades, it's just to make it more swift. The fermented spider eye also increases spawn count, and the chorus fruit is no AI, so they're brainless. They're just brainless meat sacks. And if all of that sounds great, you're like, well great, how about the sound? I don't want to be next to this, especially if it's next to my main base. Well, that's simple. Just add a piece of wool and you'll quiet it down. Simple as that. So let's go ahead and clean up the inventory here. And oh, wow. I made a mistake. I have fixed said oopsies. So I have everything that we need here. So let's go ahead and begin modifying our spawner here. So let's just go ahead and sneak in here. Start with the conduit. Nether star, soul lantern, a lot of sugar. I believe it's 16 for most is what you can stack to. And if you hold control, you can see exactly what each item is doing. For the clock, yeah, it's decreasing that spawn delay. So just keep on sending it. You can adjust this, but we want it to be snappy and as fast as possible. For the dripstones, I did make an oopsies earlier, other than what you saw. This will actually, too much of the dripstones will decrease the health so much to where this height will kill them on impact. So just be careful with the dripstone. You can add them if you'd like. I'm actually not going to. We're going to let the mob masher do most of the work. Of course, fruits, fermented spider eye, gas tier, sweet. Now let's go ahead and add the echo shards and the wool. This will make it quiet, and this will add echoing. All right, I think we're ready for the test. Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and pause this, and let's set up our filtering. Ha! Ooh, baby, we're backed up. Okay. So notice how we have all of these axes. This is going to fill up really fast, as mostly they don't stack unless they match the same durability. So to fix this, with our advanced void, you're going to want to match item by tag. We're going to select an axe and hit plus. That way, any axe will be voided. We don't want banners unless you do. I personally don't, so I'm also going to add the banner. And so far, I believe that is it. I'm going to go ahead and clear out this backpack. Leave that in there. Sort that. The backpack's pretty much set up. This is still really backed up. I'm going to go ahead and empty out my inventory. I do want to mention, I did remove the tank upgrade. I removed this just so I can troubleshoot this, which I figured it out. I forgot to mention for the experience holder, if you are using this, make sure you set the collection radius. So render area, you can see the red outline with green. That is the area of which this will collect the experience. I didn't have mine set properly, and so it wasn't collecting the experience, and I thought it was an issue with the tank. But you can have both, you can run both, and it will still collect experience here. Fun fact, to collect this entirely, you can hit plus or minus and retrieve individual levels at a time. But if you want to speed that up, just hit control. You can take all of it or store all of it. Pretty simple. So now that we have the tag set in the void, let's go turn it back on and see what she does. Oh my goodness. We are extremely backed up. We are collecting a lot of experience. I do want to mention, though, for the chance of gem drops, press Ctrl-T, and here is where you can set your difficulty for the Apothic gems. Now, the lower tier you are, the lower level gems you will receive upon drop. You will have to unlock each progression, and the higher progression you set yourself to, the higher the chance you can get for drop. So if we hit detailed info, our current chances of anything above rare are 0%, and that's because of our current tier. We haven't activated this yet. But if you work your way up, and you activate the higher tiers, you will have a higher chance for higher tier gems to drop. Well, let's go ahead and do the final touches. I do want to add an access port. I don't really like this per se. I kind of like mine at the side because I do have a jetpack, so I'll just kind of add an entryway like this. And I like to use the garage doors. Gray would be kind of cool. That might match. Oh. Here we go. All right. Close that. All right, so that's pretty much it. One more thing before we log off here is if you press M, make sure that you claim the chunks and shift left click to force load the chunks. Depending on the potato status of your computer, you might want to do this, you might not. If you want to AFK farm and come back, this will be very beneficial to you. However, because of the speed of the drops, this can get backed up really fast. If you're on a remote server or you have a separate system hosting your world, this wouldn't really be much of an issue because items do despawn, but just that's something to keep in mind for future reference. And that brings us to our conclusion. I really appreciate you watching this video. Leave me a like if this helped you out. Drop me a comment with your thoughts. Let me know if you think I can do anything differently or any ideas that you have. And, of course, if you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing so you don't miss future All the Mod tutorials. As always, I will see y'all later.